Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is May 14th, 2024. You're listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today, as you probably expect, we're talking about GPT-4o, um, which I always think is like, I wish it was 5.0, so then we could do plays off Hawaii 5.0. And then I think it would be kind of fun. But anyway, let me tell you who we have today: Jumi, Beth, Carl, Andy, Aaron, and Brian. And yeah, so yesterday there was their spring, I think they called it, like their spring update or spring announcement or something like that from OpenAI. It was at 1 p.m. yesterday. If you follow anything with AI, it's been all through the news and YouTube and so on and so forth. And what we want to do is bring to you what we know, what we can project for, like, hey, if we can see this in their demo, that means that this might be coming. What's currently available today, the things that have changed, lots of change from the free to the other side. So just a lot to cover today for 4.0. O stands for Omni, by the way, if you're not sure, like why O, and it's like a small O is the way they write it, but it stands for Omni, meaning multi-channel, omni-channel, which we can get into a little bit here because that really has to do more with the voice side of it. So I don't know, guys, as we sort of think about this, maybe Carl, you want to sort of set us up here, but there was really, as I saw it yesterday with the announcement, Mira got on there, and there's really sort of two sides of this. There's, hey, we're basically giving a whole lot more to the free side. And then if we sort of pivot, it's like, okay, now let us show you when you take GPT-4 and you really focus it on Omni and voice, what can happen. And that really was the latter part of it, and also the part we can't really touch today anyway. So there's a lot of speculation of like, what does it mean and stuff. But Carl, do you want to kind of like set us up here just for the rest of the conversation?
Yeah. So I think you can probably watch all the demo videos on YouTube at OpenAI. You can, go to their blog post to get all the the details. I think like what we saw yesterday, and just listening to a couple of people, podcasts and so on, or instant reactions, is not necessarily where this tech is today, but where we see everything going towards. And even the title of our show, right? Is this the evolution of agents? Because Sam Altman actually he had a blog post about this, and I'll just read the last little bit. He goes, the original ChatGPT showed a hint of what was possible with language interfaces. This thing feels viscerally different. It is fast, smart, fun, natural, and helpful. Now, talking to a computer has never felt really natural for me. Now it does. As we add optional personalization, access to information, the ability to take actions on your behalf, and more, I can really see an exciting future where we are able to use computers to do much more than ever before. And then, he thanks the team for all the work that's happened. I think like that's pretty big what he just says there, because every single line seems to be things that have announced or will be announcing. And we've gotten bits and pieces of it, right? And it all ties back to the agent stuff, where add personalization, it started adding memory, like GPTs start having memory. And I'm sure there's more personalization coming in the future. Sure. Access to information. So we can already upload it with information. And I feel like the next step is connecting to where most of our information is. So you got things like Notion, you got things like Google Drive, Office 365, and Confluence and Zendesk and things like that. Then the ability to take actions on your behalf. To me, that's a preview of what everybody else is working on, is the agent, what can an actual thing not just see, not just hear, but actually execute and do for you. And we've seen other companies do bits and pieces of this. Hyperite has their, you can go search the web. I love Respell's AI agent, where she can go out and get information from you. But I can just imagine OpenAI in the next weeks, months, adding that in. And then if you take that all together, plus search, so now you have an agent, again, that can see, hear, you can have conversations with, that you can ask it to solve problems, get ideas and advice in real time, and then take action for you. And then using the data you already have, that's pretty powerful if you take it all together. So I think this is a layered announcements of one after the other. And to me, the biggest prediction I still have is WWDC, Apple, OpenAI,
Mm.
Siri is now powered by OpenAI. It just, to me, makes sense that
Allegedly, we don't know. Yeah, we
allegedly,
don't. Yeah,
right?
it may be announced. Yeah,
It
there
may
was a
not, but
lot of
like,
speculation about that before.
yes,
Well,
yes, for
we
sure.
originally we thought, oh, they're going to announce a search engine. Then
Yeah.
Sam Altman actually came on X and said, not a search engine, not GPT-5, but actually something that we think kind of feels like magic, which is, I think, kind of like the word that comes through this is like it's like the through line is feels like magic. And what is magic? Well, magic is something that seems to be defying the laws of physics or visual. It's sleight of hand, right? It's making you believe something is happening, but what really is like you're getting past the limitations of what the brain can conceive. So it's make you look over here and I'm going to do something over here and boom, it's magic. And I really took that word magic because I think there's like I don't think that's unintentional from Sam and what you just read on the blog there to just talk about when you get down to such a latency, such a small latency. I think for what they were showing, it's now something like 200. I'm gonna have this wrong. I think they said something like 200 milliseconds, which is close to how quickly the brain processes and reacts in a normal conversation. And not only the live stuff they showed, but also all the videos that they posted, and they posted a lot on their
Yeah.
blog. I highly recommend everybody on our audience go check those out because there was a lot of cool use cases from harmonizing to translation, which we saw a bit of, to two of them talking together and solving customer service problems, to about rock, paper, scissors, to about 15 others that they did as well. And I think you're right, Carl. Like that to me is when you solve that problem of latency and you layer this on little by little. Sam has been very open about, I think we need to roll these out in incremental pieces. This is exactly what we would expect is not some monumental GPT-5, but just the next logical step so that it always feels close enough to the last thing that just happened. So nobody ever feels completely untethered from this next AI evolution. Because this just feels like the natural next step. It's not scary to anybody. Everybody goes, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. But that does feel natural. And I think that's intentional.
Because you can imagine if they released everything. So you have an agent that can do search, that can do all of this, like all of it all at once, connected to your data. One, it's probably too much. Like if you announce it all at once, it's yes, like all the X and Twitter people are gonna have threads of the 21 most amazing use cases because that came out, but people don't get used to it. People haven't gotten used to ChatGPT to begin with, so it makes sense to try to do it piece by piece, but at the same time try to get it out there as fast as you can. It's
And also, I think
yeah.
you think it's like keeping your cards close to your chest. They don't know what Google's going to announce today,
Yeah.
and who knows, Google might step ahead of the game, and so they've got something held back in reserve. So I think strategically, it's a pretty smart move.
Yeah, I like what they did with all of their additional videos and blog and things like that. Is it highlighted all of the expected components for an agent. So when I ran through them, I watched everything on Vimeo and I watched everything on the blog page, and what I noticed was, oh, here's the component of agents talking to other agents. Okay, well, there's that concept of agents being able to instruct other agents to go complete tasks for them. All right, great. Here's the component that makes it much easier to interact with your agent, whether via voice, via vision. All right, so there's that human computer interface component, and then just systematically went through these options and giving early use cases for the technology. And all of this does is it just, well, at least in me, it spurred these ideas. It's like, oh, okay, now I want to see it try this or try that. And so it really prepares for when they're releasing the next bit, right? And we're talking about iteration releases and things like that. So I think they did a really smart job of releasing those videos to sort of get the embers of the fires of interest going before you make your next version of it, or your next use case of it, and things like that.
Yeah, Brian, you used the word magic there, and it struck an immediate thing in my head. So for any of you sci-fi fans out there, one of my early sci-fi favorite authors was Arthur C. Clarke, and he has a saying that's quite famous. It says, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic."
Yeah,
kind of seems pretty relevant in this case.
and maybe Sam was referencing that. I'm not sure. Like I kind of felt, I definitely feel that way, that every time a new GPT-5 comes out, somebody is going to say, oh, this is actual intelligence, right? Somebody's going to say this is AGI, because for us, it will be the first time that we're experiencing something that now again is pushing the levels of magic. And then we get used to it and it feels less like magic. And then we hit the next iteration, whatever the next big thing is, and we go, oh my God, it's basically thinking on its own. Then a couple months go by and we go, well, it's not really thinking on its own. It's predicting the next word. It's just really damn good at it. And it's now doing it so fast that it seems incomprehensible to us that it could actually happen. It must be actual artificial intelligence, or it must be AGI. And then a couple months goes by and everybody resets again. So it's this like, not a roller coaster, but it's just riding these waves, I guess, where it goes back to the whole iteration thing. Okay, I want to bring in other people, obviously, because Beth, you're here, Andy, you're here. Also, Beth, I know you want to respond, but can you also, if you're okay with it, give us a breakdown, because we kind of jumped over the free stuff that came out as well. If you want to talk about that too. If you don't, it's okay. But I just thought, I knew we need to touch on that as well. You're on mute. Well, you're not on mute on StreamYard, but yep, keep going. Beth says stretch. Andy, do you want to jump in here and we'll come back to that?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So a couple things. One is this is a newly trained model. Previous multimodal models were trained in different modes in different deep neural networks, and then kind of Frankenstein gang together to provide their multimodal capabilities. That's not entirely true. There are some, sort of multimodal first trainings that have been done before on different models, but this is the first frontier model with high level reasoning capabilities that has natural integration of vision and text and voice. Okay, so audio, and this is what we mean when we say this one can see and talk. And to combine those things together with other engineering tricks that allow for this very low latency gives you these incredible capabilities. Now, I want to follow through on what Carl said, is this is kind of part of an evolution towards agent, which is kind of the theme of this show. Where are agents likely to occur first for you as a player in the world of AI? Well, it's going to be on your devices, right? And most importantly, most of us who work and really need assistance with an agent are doing it on the desktop. So a key part of what OpenAI announced, and which isn't immediately available except to a very small group of beta testers, is a Mac OS app on the desktop. And of course, it's going to be provided for Windows as well, because Microsoft. So let me just paint a picture of this. One of the most compelling demonstrations I saw yesterday was Salman Khan with his son on an iPad, and they're both looking at the iPad, and they've spoken to the agent, which is 4o, and they're saying, okay, now we have a picture of a problem on here, and it was a right triangle, and they're trying to calculate the sine. He wants GPT-4o to teach the son how to get to the right answer on this, but don't tell him the right answer. And so let's just step back for a minute and see what's happening there. There then proceeds a nice progression, beautiful tutoring by the AI in conversation with the son. But what's really happening there is that somehow It's not clear in the demo how they're doing it, but somehow 4o is able to see what's on the screen. Now, it could be that they've ganged together a camera above that's looking at the screen of the iPad, but I think it's more likely that the Mac OS app is running on the iPad.
They actually show it. They show screen share. They show that they press screen share.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so
good.
then it's actually
that's how
seeing
I
it.
assumed
And
it was
just
working.
Right,
add that
okay.
to what you're talking about this, Andy, that Matt Wolf also said about this, that perhaps what's actually happening is it's not watching video, it's snapping some amount of individual screen grabs to see what's going on. And he mentioned that because in the live demo, the AI originally says like, okay, I seem to be looking at a wooden table. And he's like, oh no,
Yeah.
not that one. Look at me. And he goes, look at the most recent one you have or whatever. And so he goes, I wonder if that means that it's what it's really doing in a very great, novel, seamless way is taking screenshots. So I just wanted to add that really quick.
Yeah. So, and what's doing that is an app on the device,
Right.
right? So now this could be possible with a browser, but it's much more effective in looking at your desktop and local apps, not just what's showing in the browser. If there's an app on your desktop that's running 4o, okay, or integrating with 4o. So the delivery of an app, I think, is really important to understand here, because that's going to make it possible very shortly, when these apps for the desktop are available, for you to have this seeing, talking interaction with your own computer with an AI agent that can operate things on the computer through the app. That's going to be game changing for me.
See, and that's my point too. That's what I've been looking for. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Because for me, at least, and I wonder if it's true for everyone, it is a different brain track for me. It's why I have what I refer to as my lady wiretaps, because we all have them. Most of us have them. Like I set a timer that way, as opposed to going to a different app and a different screen and having to type something. I can do what I'm doing and then speak about it without losing my focus or my intention or my track. And that is so exciting, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have the phone like with me, next to me, looking at my screen too, and being able to like collaboratively move back and forth with that. I think that's, yes, a game changer. This is like
listen, here's a very real use case of that, Beth, right now, literally right now. Think about this. They showed it, by the way, of it sitting and listening in on a Zoom call. Okay. Jimmy, how long do you think it'll be before we'll be able to set this up on desktop? It'll record exactly what we're seeing. All of us are seeing on our screen right now.
Yeah.
Not only will it be able to easily distinguish and isolate who's talking about what on here, it may in the future be able to isolate that voice, which would totally revolutionize pulling clips and all this stuff in there. If it's able to do a good job of understanding, it may also look at it and say, Andy looks bored right now. When you guys were rambling on, Brian, one advice we would give you as feedback for the show is shut up and make sure that other people have the department talk, because I could see Andy was looking down or off to the side of the screen. Like when you add vision, depending on how rapidly it's able to keep up with what's going on the screen grabs and all that, man, where are the possibilities if it sits as the AI agent on the show, then only takes the information and then does agent things with it and sends it off to Google Docs for us and Slack, our Slack channels, our internal Slack, or our newsletter.
Oh, definitely.
Our newsletter is coming, and other right? What do you think, Jimmy? Because I totally see that.
I think you're spot on. You're spot on. The thing that hit me, the first idea that hit me was like, all of my meetings will go super efficiently because it can tell me in real time all of the things that we talked about. It can reiterate tasks. So if we need to issue tasks, it'll be my perfect PM helper. I'd be like, all right, re-summarize, or hit our top bullet points, and what's everybody need to do before tomorrow? Perfect. Let's do all that. Yes.
I mean, ChatGPT might legitimately be our 8th member. And that's not even a joke, because if it can sit alongside whoever's on the show on any given day, and if we're talking about a topic and we want to keep talking. We want to do the human thing, which is having a good conversation about all these topics. But we would love it if a ChatGPT could go quickly and research something and bring it back into the conversation in a conversational way. And then all of us just got used to saying, you know, hey, ChatGPT, can you expand on that really quick? And instantly, without any latency, you know, that voice comes in, guy, girl, whatever we have. And it's like, yeah, what you're talking about right now, I've been listening, blah, blah, blah. That's correct. You know, here's a citation for it or whatever for your audience. I mean, I totally see that as a thing.
Yeah.
We got
speaking of voices, the big, I guess, if you haven't watched some of the demo videos where they're talking to ChatGPT, that I think in some respects that was probably the part that impressed me the most, because I've used the voice chat app on the phone before. It's got latency. I mean, there's 2 to 3 seconds. It's slow. It's not effective. I found it useful to do a bit of a verbal dump if I wanted to just transcribe it and then do something with it. But it wasn't something you could have a conversation with. All the demos were so much more effective and so much more powerful because of that reduction in latency. And the other thing that I thought was really fascinating, I didn't realize it until I saw a comment on YouTube, but there were a lot of people saying, hey guys, has anyone noticed that female voice they're using sounds a lot like Scarlett Johansson's voice from the Her movie of 2013? So if you've never seen that movie, it's about a guy who falls in love with a female voiced AI. So yeah, that was pretty cool too.
So what's happening, and what I find fascinating is that this is starting like the awareness wave that's happening, right? So people, as Brian said, people who are paying attention and using these and doing things, it's like, oh, this is a cool next iteration. I can let my imagination go. I'm going to get used to it. Then we're going to do the next thing. But the awareness wave is also moving for people who have not been paying attention. And in my college text thread, there was a lot of like, this is terrifying that the companies are building models and tracking voices so that it can sound more human, right? And that maybe if I was scared about that before, I'm no longer, like, I'm beyond that place of like that being a freak out for me, but it's definitely a freak out for people. So I think that's also what we're going to see, is that as this goes this way and we're excited to get the new abilities, the awareness goes in the other direction, and it's more and more frightening for people who for whom this is strange magic, not exciting, look what we can do magic. Right?
I do have one pushback point.
Makes a big difference as well, because more people are going to get exposed to it.
Mm. Well, okay, so I have one caveat. We've seen, yeah, it's not a strong one. Don't worry.
I can't make it smaller.
We've talked a lot about all the positive things and everything like that. The one thing, and I might just be harping on something, but is in a lot of the examples, whether it's the demo or the other additional blog videos and things like that, is they've had to cut off the ChatGPT, or they've had to cut off the model, right? Because the model will be a little more verbose than they want. You could explain it away as that they want to, you know, continue on with their demo, things like that. I'm sure that can be mitigated in your, you know, your custom setup. Now, what I'm afraid of though is if this is the normal behavior, will people who use the AI more and more often just start cutting people off in the middle of their sentences? Because it'll be the natural, their natural way of speaking and interacting. It's like, oh no, I'm done listening to you. Okay, that's enough. Moving on. Just like you said, Brian, earlier in the show.
Because I feel like if you met Amanda, they're modeling the AI off of Amanda, who, once she feels like she's heard enough of the sentence, predicts what the rest of the sentence will be and immediately starts responding with whatever she thought that was, you know. Clearly I love my wife.
Now that's funny. That's funny. But I think what's really remarkable about some of the demos is that they demonstrated something that we haven't seen yet, because that voice interaction with 4o is only being slowly rolled out to plus users first. And so if you're using ChatGPT free, or you're a Plus user like me, and you've not yet gotten that special voice interaction capability. You haven't yet experienced what they showed, which was not only really low latency, like as soon as you finish speaking, then she immediately comes in with just a fraction of a second and is responding with cleverness and quips and like a personality. Now those things can be prompted into a style or a voicing style for the LLM, and they did a beautiful job of demonstrating that. And to date, most of the voice interactions have been robotic voices, not much inflection, very purposeful, execution of the text that's been generated by the model. This is totally different from that. This is really expressive, emotive dialogue with a computer, which is really fun.
And the other piece of that is that it is not something that you're it's not a setting that you're changing. Somebody said, can you make it do 2 times? Because I've had that experience too. Like, I know where you're going, just speed up, please. Where's the increase in speed? And the answer to that is, this is a voice model. You say, please talk faster. Right? Like, it's literally not like, push this slider now to 1.5 or 1.75. Right. You are interacting with a voice who is understanding what you're saying and can respond, not just in like retrieving information or that kind of stuff, but actually modulate how it is, how fast it's going, what kind of voice it is, all of those sorts of things.
And the demos showed requests to now switch to singing the responses. So that's another dimension of audio that we've not seen before in voice interactions with AI.
Did you guys see
the emotional range of the model was impressive, and I found myself laughing a lot at some of the things that it said. Like, it's artificial though it may be, it seemed to have a sense of humor that I've not had that experience before. So that was a bit of a wow moment for me as well.
So I wanted to pose a question to everybody, because we've talked about like emotional responses and things like that. And we've covered a bit of news in the past about Hume AI, right? And their whole product was about an emotional interface layer between AI and human interaction. So Sam Altman was famous for making a quote of, OpenAI is going to steamroll all of these companies, right? There's that the meme going around of these startups who have built on previous editions getting steamrolled. So my question is, with this new model and highlighting these new features, who's getting steamrolled?
Well, there was a list of them that was already got steamrolled, right? The emotion, what I think Hume or whatever, that was gonna get that's pretty much done. Did you see Duolingo's stock drop within, like, I don't know, a couple of minutes of this announcing? I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Although I still do think it benefits people to learn the language, but if you can go to another country and be able to do this in real time, then the incentive to do that is gone. But then I think so there's the direct impact to a lot of companies that are I think there was a list somewhere on X that I saw, but then the indirect impacts, because even I'm thinking, if you have something that can see while you work in real time and ask it, the profound impact, I can't think of what will impact that, but like, think of personal tutors. Like, this thing is impeccably patient with you forever. So you could, like, a math tutors, it's like, how would you, like, that in itself is pretty good. And I'm not saying this will replace teachers, but I think, like, it's amazing what it could potentially do to really augment people going to classes. Do you still need that? Hire a personal tutor, because now I can go to class, record everything, and then have an AI go over that lesson with me.
How about
We've
games?
talked about
Like imagine,
using it as a tutor before. Go ahead.
imagine. I mean, I'm really resonant with the whole intelligent tutor application of this, and I think it's really advanced the opportunity to build things around the capabilities of 4o to support education and learning generally. And it happens that in ChatGPT and other large models, there's some data out just now. I just read it this morning that shows that the number one use case for ChatGPT is learning about a new topic. Just give me an explanation, give me an overview of this thing that I'm not familiar with. And that's going to be much easier once it's voice interactive in a natural way with a character voice that you've articulated yourself. So, but now I just was thinking, what if now we have the desktop version? I'm a gamer, and I'm not. So I'm kind of punting this over to you, Junmi, I think, or anybody else who's a serious gamer here. What if you have an AI assistant that can give you strategic tips in the course of the play of the game? It's watching the game, maybe knows the game, and then suddenly everybody has a really smart assistant when they're doing some kind of interactive gaming.
I like where you're going with, Andy. And I was just thinking, so we've talked about AI enhancing the NPC experience, right? So the role play experience in the game. And now we've got this AI assistant that's your AI assistant that can help you with, it's like, oh man, I can't get past this boss or whatever the situation is. But let's take it one step further and let's have your AI assistant in the game as an NPC. Right. So your account
the wingman
has
concept,
you and the assistant, and throughout all the various games and things like that, you have helper NPCs and things like that. But if we're talking about a virtual environment, if we're talking about a metaverse or something along those lines, it's easy enough to have your AI assistant appear as another player that's attached to you in those kinds of situations. Right.
Okay, so I want to put one thing out here, and we were thinking about this at our company too. Okay, so if everybody has the similar level of AI assistant, right? I would assume Google, Meta, whatever you prefer, OpenAI, it's going to be comparable eventually, right? I still think it's to the point. And we're thinking about this from, let's say, a big company like JP Morgan. JP Morgan, yes. And like, let's say Wells Fargo or whatever bank you possibly use, Scotiabank, TD Bank here in Canada, and whatever bank you use in Australia, Aaron.
Kangaroo.
Yeah, well, then you don't. That's really funny. But if they're all comparable, what is the differentiating factor then? So why would I choose this bank over this bank to do business with when I know the AIs are at the literally the same level? Or do we think that it's still to the point where they can still outdo each other? But wouldn't there be a point that everybody has the same capability, which means what differentiates that? And I feel what differentiates is the human experience.
Yes.
So that's still to be the biggest thing. It's like if everyone's AI is awesome, but one customer service in real life is shitty versus one that's better, I'm going with the better one, right? Just it doesn't matter how good, because the AIs are all going to cancel themselves out. So I just thought it was an interesting thing to think about. So humans still are needed, even if
I agree. That's probably going to be the top.
That's a show topic.
The top feature. Still needed, right? Yeah, a great header. But I do imagine. I do imagine it's going to be like computer parts or car parts, right? If you've ever built a computer, right, or you've changed out pieces of your your automobile or anything like that, every piece from every brand or every manufacturer has whatever they think is better about their piece, right? which graphics card do you use? Why do you use an NVIDIA or over an AMD? Right? There's the price cost, this is better at doing X while this is better doing it Y, and those kinds of things. And we've talked about that, about having lots of sub AIs or sub models, or individual little models and things like that. And I think it comes down to really customizing what your experience is. Like when Sakana came out with their evolutionary model paper and things like that, I was just like, oh man, we can just put all the different pieces and Legos and build whatever we really want. And that becomes personalized to us because it works with us the best way. So we're going to want all of these variations, right? We want all of these options so that we can build the best thing for our experience.
I think it's also a case of if everyone's AI is quote unquote similar, then the differentiator is how you interact with it and how you ultimately trade it over time. Because I can guarantee you the way I do it is going to be different from the way all of you guys do it, and vice versa. So the differentiator is probably going to become more on that factor. And then, whether it just means that lots of companies become one or two choices or whatever, who knows? But I think that's going to be the biggest change factor.
Well, I know one of the things because this topic was, we wanted to take a different approach to 4o. Everybody's talking about all the, you can pretty much go and look really quickly at the different pieces and parts. But I wanted to take no more than 2 minutes here just to talk about them. A big part of this is them giving access to people who previously would not have access because they would have had to pay $20. So going from 3.5 up to 4o is a massive jump. Now, 4o, I'm finding to have better answers. I'll show it in a second on the screen. But real quick, just wanted to share this just for anybody who's curious. If you now have a free account, this was not true yesterday. I'm showing a free account right now. And if you look all the way up in the URL, it says !model equals GPT-4o. And if I drop down, you'll notice that the only options now are ChatGPT, which is 4o, or I can move up to plus. There's no more 3.5 in here or anything like that. So now on a free account, you do in fact have access to GPT-4o. So now you might be asking, what about custom GPTs? Well, if I click on a custom GPT, I can see it, but it still shows that it's a sign up to chat, and it still says that it requires ChatGPT plus. They have said that these will be available to all free accounts, but at least for today, May 14th, more than likely, if you have a free account and you've been using ChatGPT, this is a phenomenal time to go in and use ChatGPT today, because you're going to be blown away if all you knew was 3.5 before this, and now all of a sudden you have 4.0. You're going to be really, really happy with the upgrades that you just got for free.
I am curious about the what are the limits, right? Because what's the incentive for me to keep paying?
So the limits are
five times the limit, whatever that's going to be.
And on their documentation, it says that plus accounts get 80 interactions with 4o, or 80 answers from 4o in a 3-hour period. And then they said 5 times. So I would assume either the free accounts get a certain allotment for the day, or they get a lesser allotment every 3 hours. But what you just showed, Brian, the free accounts used to have voice interaction, and it looks like that's been taken out and will likely be able to be given back, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. You're right. There's no voice in there. You can add attachments, but you cannot do voice. The other thing I wanted to share, because 2010 Cisco in our comments brought it up about temperature and using GPT-4o. I just wanted to bring this up on the screen really quick. One of the things, by the way, still a super fan of platform at OpenAI. If you've not been using the platform, you have to use a little bit of money of your API key to do it. But I still to this day use the platform for all sorts. I'm sorry, not platform, playground. I'm using the wrong word. I apologize. Playground, the OpenAI playground, for all sorts of different tasks. One of the things we absolutely did not have, 2 things, and you're seeing them both if you're looking at the screen right now. You could not upload images to it. I never could in the past. And you also could not do a side-by-side comparison or an evaluation. So what we're looking at here is GPT-4 Turbo compared to 4o side by side. And because 2010 Cisco, you had asked about it, I went ahead and ran a first iteration where I said, tell me a story about the person in this image. And this happens to be our thumbnail from today's show, or a variation of it. And then if you look at it, hold on, I got to get to where I can scroll on the screen. Here we go. You can scroll down on side by side. You can decide whether you like one more than the other. And then I ran it again at a temperature of 1, and then a 1.33. And you can definitely see that there's definitely more creativity, or, you know, sort of craziness coming into the second one here, but not as high. I will say 1.3 on GPT-4o, in my experience, just looking at this, is not as crazy as it has been in the past in the playground. 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 started to make things go a little, you know, cuckoo in the responses. And I'm not really seeing this. It just cut it off because of the context length here. You can see when my max tokens were really low. So that's why I cut it off what she was telling. Otherwise, it would have kept going with the sense. So I just wanted to bring this up. If you're not using OpenAI's Playground, throw $5 at it. You have to prepay now, the API key. Throw $5 at it. It'll last you forever. We just heard yesterday that 4o is even cheaper to use through the API. So you're probably not going to be spending any sort of significant money. I think I spent like literally $1 a month, and I use it quite a bit. So I would highly recommend going in there and do the side-by-sides, because that's really cool that you can do that now. And obviously you can images. And hopefully voice will be coming soon to it, which would be really cool.
That would be amazing.
Hey guys, can I just quickly jump in with something before we finish?
Yep.
So I read this comment this was actually on YouTube, and I thought this is quite interesting. We're talking about making this available for free. This guy wrote, letting free users access their best model is smart. First-time or casual users won't get a poorer experience, and they'll be much more likely to see value in the paid version. Someone else said, I swear it's a lost leader when people find themselves relying on this and they're maxing out their free tier quota after a few hours into the day. They'll be fumbling to pull out their credit cards. Plus, they'll also get access to an insane and new amount of training data, voice, vision, and language, which could make the progress of training the models skyrocket. So there's some pretty smart stuff.
And don't forget, they had some pressure, right? You have an amazing model that you can use from free from Anthropic with Claude, not Opus, Sonnet, the middle one. All right, you can use that for free right now. You can use Meta.ai for free, which is using the Llama 3 model, and that is phenomenal. You have a free version of Gemini, which I would say is not equal, but I will definitely put Meta's Llama 3 up there with GPT-4o. I get great results out of that. That's absolutely free. Go to Meta.ai, and you have to log in with like whatever your Meta or Facebook login. You can use it. So free, but not free, right? Freemium, however you want to look at it. So there's definitely some. OpenAI has had some competition where I think they kind of had to do this too, because there are now some very good models that are definitely better than 3.5, which is all OpenAI had in the past. So you figure in the last 2 months, they made it that you don't have to log in anymore to get 3.5. You can literally go to the website and use it, kind of like a Meta, but even better because you don't have to log in at all. And then you also have now 4o, massive, massive improvement for everybody.
Nice. And actually what Sam was talking about, and it seemed jarring to me, was he said 4 is the dumbest model you will ever have to use. But 3.5 was still being actively used during that time. And I was like, all right, but we have dumber models, Sam. You're giving us dumber models. And so now that point is now made true, that they've taken that away, and this is now the dumbest model you'll ever have to lose.
Listen, go ahead. Do you have something real quick, Beth? And I was going to wrap it up.
I just want to make a quick note that all this strange magic that we're talking about, and the good magic that we're talking about, and holy crap, this is a sci-fi moment. The Daily AI Show has a what do we say? Progeny. Maybe we're not a spinoff, a mini show that is coming and is the sci-fi AI show. It's Junmi and me, and it's dropping Saturday. So look for that.
Ooh, it's coming soon. I didn't know it's coming Saturday. That's awesome. I can't wait for it. Well, on that note, let's just talk what we have to go on the rest of the week. Tomorrow we would normally talk about the news, so it's very we will probably talk about
Google discussion.
Yes, Google also has their IO event today. That also happens at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll be catching up with that. we're gonna do a show on Thursday. We will talk about anything released in I/O today. It'll be a Google show, essentially, kind of like we did with 4o and OpenAI today. But we also are going to expand beyond that, talk about what they have going with AlphaFold 3, some of their really big announcements in Google DeepMind, which have kind of not gotten the love they should have because of all the other news cycles and stories. And these things are big deals. So we're going to do that on Thursday, excuse me, because I feel like we need a show just talking about all the different pieces and parts of Google Alphabet, really, and what they're doing with AI. And obviously we'll bring in anything that's going on from the I/O event. And then Friday, just to round out sort of a top 3 here, we're going to be talking about Anthropic, but we're going to specifically be doing a tool review of Anthropic's newer console. Kind of like Playground, like I just showed you, but they call Console, and it's actually really intelligent. And you can use some of the higher models there as well, and Opus, which is kind of cool because you get some of the better results out of it. So we'll talk about that. That'll be sort of our tool review for Friday, and that kind of wraps up the week. It's kind of a crazy week this week, but lots to talk about as always. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for all the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like what we're doing here, those thumbs up really do help the algorithm and us. So we appreciate it. We will see you guys next time.
Hello.